Okay, this is a demo of using the ChatGPT interface and its voice chat feature, voice mode feature to do mock interviews. This is the scenario here is that you're looking to prep yourself for an upcoming interview for a position you're interested in. And so you use ChatGPT with a prompting of it being an instructor and you having a job description. You would copy in the prompt. I'll do that now. So it says you're a careers coach helping young people prepare for job interviews. Here's the position in the description. The description's down here. It could be any job. You could take any job, chop out this bottom section, put any job description in here, and this thing would do. It's best to do an interview with you. You can change this however you want. There's nothing super special about it. If you want it to ask more questions or probe you, or those kind of things, you just tell it what you want and it'll do it. But out of the box, this should work. So with the voice enablement, usually you're on a laptop or on a computer with a webcam. For the most part, you just go in and say, I want to activate. I don't have the interface here, but you go in and you say you want to activate voice chat, enable voice chat. Turns it on and asks you if it's okay to use your microphone. You get kind of somewhere in your interface it'll say, is it okay to use the microphone? You say yes, and then you have voice enablement. So this one says we'll start the interview when I say let's start. So I'll give it the prompt. It's basically giving me feedback and it's saying, hey, let me know when you're ready. And I could type in let's start and we could have a chat conversation if I needed to be in a place where I didn't want to talk and I just wanted to chat, but I'm going to go ahead. And this happens to be like a tech support position or something like that at a firm that works, it's like a company that works for many other companies. Windmark is the name of the company, and it looks like they do troubleshooting customer service for hardware, software for various companies. So I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to click on this. It'll switch into voice mode, and then if I say let's start, it will begin the interview. Let's start.
Great, let's dive in. Can you tell me a little about your experience troubleshooting software or hardware issues and how you go about diagnosing and resolving them?
Oh, sure. I had a campus student worker position where I would go around and do installs of computers, monitors, printers, those sorts of things. As part of my job duties, it wasn't all of it. It wasn't everything. But
it sounds like you have experience with hardware installs. How did you handle troubleshooting when something didn't work as expected, especially when you couldn't immediately identify the problem?
Oh, sure. Well, during the time when during COVID times, everyone switched over to doing Zoom meetings, and many people had many different sorts of audio and video setups. And one of the most frequent things that would happen would be a video, a camera or something somebody's pulled off of their shelf and they want to use in the Zoom meetings. And usually I'd have to go out and find the correct drivers for it, assuming there were good drivers. Sometimes there weren't. Install the drivers, get the hardware working, and then make sure it's working in the Zoom application by itself. So it's kind of troubleshooting and just kind of knowing where to go and get the right resources.
That's a good example of troubleshooting in a remote environment. Can you give me an example of a time when you had to work under pressure to resolve an issue and how you managed the situation?
Oh, yeah. Probably the biggest pressure, you wouldn't believe it, but printers. Printers seem to fail all the time, and a lot of people are rushing in to do a presentation and are printing off the final copies of their presentation. So troubleshooting printers.
I can imagine how printers can be a source of stress. How did you handle the pressure to get the printer working quickly? And what steps did you take to ensure a successful resolution?
Well, again, I hate to go back to the drivers, but it usually ends up being like uninstalling whatever's there, reinstalling new versions of the software, and then ensuring that it's working once you're done. Sometimes you can use the diagnostics off the printer itself. The printer will print out a bunch of information about its networking and Wi-Fi connections and things like that. But yeah, usually it's just a matter of trial and error, and then making sure that it's working the way the customer wants before taking off, so that they can be at ease.
Great. That sounds like a methodical approach. Now, this role involves a fair bit of customer interaction. How do you ensure clear communication when explaining technical solutions to someone who might not be very tech savvy?
Well, usually it comes down to listening to them on the phone, knowing what they need, and as they describe, you kind of learn to adapt your instruction to their level of input, and you try and meet and match that level, and sometimes you have to repeat yourself.
That's a strong approach, adjusting to the person's level of understanding. In this role, you'd be working with a team. Can you share an example of a time when you had to collaborate with others to solve a problem or reach a solution?
Sure. A lot of the work I do has been individual, but in my student groups, I was part of an online group that played video games together, and I was one of the leaders of the team, and so we would all kind of pre-meet and pre-game our approach to any particular team competition. We would lay down strategies, and then somebody would be the commander in the area who could kind of redirect people as needed. I tend to find myself in that position, but if somebody else were in that position, I would understand the need to take orders and do your part as part of the team.
That's an interesting example. Team dynamics in any setting can be helpful to share. How do you prioritize your tasks when juggling multiple support requests, especially in a fast-paced environment with tight deadlines?
Oh, sure. Well, impact is big. Severity and impact are kind of two of the major features. So if it's affecting a lot of people and it seems like it's something that is not going to be easily corrected, then it usually gets prioritized toward the top. Knowing what's valuable to the customers is important as well. But there's one odd thing that gets thrown into prioritization, which is important people. And we all wish everyone was the same importance, but quite often somebody who's like in a CIO or a VP level of a company, they just take priority given their position.
That's a solid approach, especially in a support role where prioritizing based on impact is crucial. The role requires some flexibility with working hours. How comfortable are you with rotating shifts that include nights, weekends, and holidays?
Well, I'd prefer a stable schedule. But if some of the work could be remote, then that would be a lot easier. But all in all, I'm mostly just interested in having the position, and so I would work to change. I have a preference, but it's not solid.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. It's good to know that you're flexible, even if you have a preference for a stable schedule. Now, to wrap up, can you tell me why you're interested in this particular role at Winmark Corporation and what makes you a good fit for the team?
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of clients and maybe even some high-profile clients, and working for various companies will keep the mix of work that's coming towards us interesting. I love adapting to new pieces of software and trying to figure out hardware configurations that will work and networking configurations that will work. I don't have a lot of experience in enterprise systems, so that would be a new stretch for me, but it's one that I would love to gain experience in, so that's a big motivator for me.
Great. I appreciate your responses. Now let's go over the feedback. Strengths. 1. Technical troubleshooting. You clearly have hands-on experience with troubleshooting hardware and software, particularly in high-pressure situations like printer issues, which aligns well with the role. 2. Communication. Your ability to adjust your communication based on the listener's technical knowledge is a strong point. It's essential in customer support. 3. Prioritization. You demonstrated an understanding of how to prioritize issues, especially with a focus on impact, which is key in a support role where multiple requests come in at once. Areas for improvement. 1. Specific examples. While you gave strong examples, it would help to connect your experience more directly to the specific requirements of the role. For instance, when discussing your troubleshooting skills, highlight how you would address common issues relevant to Winmark's proprietary and third-party software. 2. Customer service orientation. You touched on customer service, but the role seems to emphasize diplomacy and professionalism. You might want to elaborate more on how you would handle difficult or upset clients, as this is a core part of the role. 3. Enterprise experience. You acknowledged your lack of experience in enterprise systems, but try to turn this into a positive by emphasizing your eagerness to learn and your ability to adapt quickly to new systems. Chances of getting the job. Based on your answers, I believe you would be a strong candidate, especially for an entry to mid-level position. You seem comfortable in technical support roles, and your desire to grow, particularly in enterprise environments, aligns well with the job. The one area that might need a bit more attention is showcasing your customer service skills and how you'd handle high-stakes situations. You're definitely on the right track. If you could emphasize customer service experience more and show how you'd adapt to Winmark's specific needs, I think you'd have a good shot at the role.
Great, thanks.
You're welcome. Glad I could help. If you need more practice or have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Good luck with your application.
All right, so that is a run through of the coaching. Let's see. I also have, let's see if I, job interview coaching, resume review. I also have one for resume review. I'll send this one along as well, where I take, excuse me, I say you're a career coach. Attached is my current resume and a job description that I'm looking for. How would you go about changing my resume to be a better fit for the job? So I'm giving them two things, asking them for a new version of my resume. Feel free to ask me any questions to try and fill out, it should be, to fill out or fill in any missing experiences. Provide me with a 100-word cover letter as well. Cover letters are horrible to write. This will at least get you started. I wouldn't just use it verbatim, but I read through it and modify it to be your own. And then, yeah, and then also review areas that are weak points for me and questions and interviews. Okay, yeah. So anyways, and you can, you could merge the two together. You could merge the previous one and this one together. But the kind of, so I gave it a resume and a thing, and it said, here's some things that point out you don't, looks like you don't have, they want Windows Active Directory and Windows 10 experience. You don't have any of that. So maybe the first thing I could do as a person who's interested in this job, this is a help desk job, would be to go out and do, let's see. I happen to know it's from Microsoft. Directory Services Training. So here's an online 5-module training session. I could do one of those. Windows. Okay, let's do Windows. I'm gonna, it says Windows 10. I'm gonna do Windows 11. Windows 10. Windows 11 certification. IT certification from Coursera. So Coursera is free, but if you're going to get a certificate, it might cost you something. Anyway, so there'd be two ways to just bone up on any position. This is a technical position, so most of the resources are online. But like, let's say you were, I'm gonna bring it way back to someone getting their first job, like doing inventory or being a line cook or something like that. Same kind of examples. So line cook, if you don't have any, you want to be one and you aren't one. Soup kitchens, you know, any of those kind of things, they're always looking for help, kitchen help, whether you're cooking directly or work into a cooking area. You know, so volunteering on the weekends to do soup kitchen work. Or if you are, what was the other one I thought of? Inventory. So maybe doing some work with Feed Our Starving Children, where you're, you know, helping move inventory in and out, or Goodwill, or who else would have inventory? Maybe even as simple as something like Girl Scouts, where the Girl Scouts are all getting together, selling their cookies. They got people moving stuff, and I'm sure there's some opportunity to do volunteer work at that level. Anyways, so if you don't have the experience, you know, one way to get that experience is to lend a helping hand. Churches, nonprofits are always looking for people who would help, and it doesn't take very long to then add one of these things to your resume. Where, you know, if it's an area you really want to work in, you can make it happen. Whether it's technical certification or, you know, whatever. So yeah, I hope that helps. I hope the looking at how ChatGPT and other things like ChaptGPT are out there and are available. Look for good prompts, find good prompts in the areas that you're interested in, and I think you'll have a good outcome. You know, I found that it's amazing. Everything from writing my mother-in-law's birthday card to helping get a job interview and rewrite my resume, or working on technical issues. It's awesome. All right, thanks.